Mike, good to see you. Michael Fanone is a former MPD officer who served for 20 years, including some time at the U.S. Capitol as a U.S. Capitol police officer. Thank you, Mike. How you doing this week?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
I want to play something because I think we all feel the way that this lady feels. This is a broadcaster, British broadcaster. I want you to hear it, and then I want you to respond to the situation. Here it is.
Genuinely, I did not sleep last night. I have seen that video. I've watched it in slow motion. I've seen different angles. And I am horrified that there is a 37-year-old woman, a mum, who had stuffed animals in the glove compartment of her car. You can see a video of her waving the ICE agents through. She then, one of the ICE agents then comes out of the car, tells her to get the F out of the car, goes to approach her car, get into her car. At that point, she reverses slightly to turn away and drive off. Her wheel is going away from him, does not hit the ICE agent. He chooses to fire at her 3 times in the face. She is dead as a result. They didn't even let a physician who was on scene saying, let me check her pulse. They didn't even let her go to her, didn't let him go to her. And as a result, she is dead. And the most chilling thing about this isn't even the murder. It's the fact that we have the President of the United States, the Kristi Noem, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, saying that she was this violent rioter and basically saying that she used her vehicle as a weapon. This is the opposite of what anyone can see with their eyes, and this is chilling. This is like the ICE is the black shirts of Mussolini, it's the brown shirts of the Nazis. ICE is the exact same version for Trump.
Okay, so here's the thing, Mike. We don't know some of the things about whether, where he was. That I think that has to be investigated, if the car touched him, all of those things. But I'm saying that's what people are feeling as they look at this and they sort of assess the situation as laymen. What do you say? It has to be investigated.
Yeah, I would go into I would go into DHS's policy, which is very similar to the Metropolitan Police Department's policy, in that you don't fire into a moving vehicle unless that moving vehicle poses imminent threat to your life or another individual's life. In watching that video, I concur with the woman from the BBC. I didn't see that. You also cannot put yourself in a position as a police officer, and I'll give you an example. Exactly what that officer did. You can't go stand in front of the vehicle and then declare that it's now a threat to you and then fire into the vehicle, which is what that officer clearly did. I also concur with her assessment that, while this clear execution of this woman's life is horrific, what's equally as horrific is that the President of the United States and Kristi Noem, within a mere hours of this incident happening, before the investigation has even begun, declared this woman a domestic terrorist and said that she violently and willfully and viciously ran over an ICE agent, which we all can see clearly with our own eyes never occurred. In fact, I didn't even see any officers acting as though they had been injured by this woman. And so those statements are clearly a lie. And this is clearly a cover-up of what essentially was plain and simple murder. Unjustified murder.
Donald Trump, I believe, didn't he say that the officer was recovering in the hospital? Didn't he write that? Is that in here? I think he said that. Now we have not, this is not our reporting, this is MS Now's reporting, and they're reporting that the officer that you see walking away from this, that they're saying that that's the officer. If that is indeed him, he walked away from the scene. I think, is this the one where Joe Scarborough is talking about it? Do we have that, guys?
The agent who fired the shots walks up to the vehicle, then walks away, telling other agents to call 911. As I said, Homeland Security.
But wait, hold on. This officer is the officer that the president said he was surprised he stayed alive.
Right.
And he's probably in the hospital right now. He doesn't look to be fine. He doesn't look as if he's in fact, got any problems at all with what's just happened, and certainly no physical problem.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's bullshit. And I want to break down more. I want to assess the actual, the moments in which the agent fired the shots, 3 shots.
Let's play that, please. We have it. Would you like the video up so you could talk about it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, go ahead, Andy. Okay, so she's waving people by. Just back up to the beginning here. I just want to get people. I want everything here. So this is as far as I know, the video that we have. There may be some that shows a little bit earlier, but she's waving people by in cars, and it appears that she's trying to leave wherever it was that she was, right?
Correct.
So it doesn't seem like she was like targeting officers.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the, the only agent that seems to be acting in a manner of, in this aggressive manner. I mean, these other 2 agents that are standing by the vehicle, they don't seem to feel threatened at all by anything that she's doing. It's this one agent that places himself in contact with the vehicle. You see the other agent there that was grabbing on the door. He's slipping because he's standing on ice. There's moments in which this video, I've watched several of these videos in which officers are slipping and sliding because they're standing on ice. Mm-hmm. And again, places himself in contact with the vehicle. Even if you could say that this first shot that he fires was in some way, based on his thought process at the time, justified. And I would say that, the tactics that he used made it so that this was outside of his departmental policy. But even if he could in some way justify the first shot, the second 2 shots, there's absolutely no one in the pathway of the vehicle and no one in danger. And let me remind people, especially those that are not familiar with police department policy and use of force policy, a police officer has to justify each and every round that they fire from the weapon, singularly, not in concert. You can't fire 10 rounds and say that the same justification I used for round number 1 is the same justification I used for round number 10. You have to justify each and every round. And it is clear that no one poses a threat to any of those agents or anyone else for that matter after that first shot is fired. Even if you could in some way twist, justification of that first shot. And so this agent, I mean, I got to be honest with you, Don, I know we got to, as a police officer, you want to take each and every one of these incidents, events, and address them by themselves. But I can't. This agency is a lawless, unaccountable agency. Every community that they go into, they make that community less safe. They make it more dangerous for average, everyday Americans. This could have been anyone who's watching this program right now. It could have been your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, your daughter. It was somebody's sister, mother, daughter. It is, I'm at a loss for words. It's disgusting.
You don't normally speak this way. I think you tell the truth, but especially around police agencies, I've never heard you speak this way before.
I mean, I really do, despite my experiences with law enforcement post January 6th and having left my former employer in a pretty unceremonious fashion. I
wouldn't know about that, but
yeah. Well, I try to come out here and give an honest assessment, not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt, because I don't believe law enforcement has earned the benefit of the doubt. But I certainly want to give it a clear and concise and accurate accounting for their actions. And this is unjustifiable. And I would say that the aggressive manner in which this agent behaved leading up to the moments in which he fired those deadly shots show that this is a person who was acting with malice, who was policing with ego. And I believe that the president and Kristi Noem have created this culture. The statements that they make to their law enforcement officers, if they hit or if they spit, we hit, and the gloves are off, go out there and do whatever you want to do. Well, that's exactly what's happening in American streets today. You have lawless agencies filled with armed thugs who are going out and they are assassinating American citizens with no justification or cause.
This is what Al Sharpton said this morning on TV.
I mean, everything around this that we know so far, and we agree that we don't know everything, but from what we've seen, is as ugly as you can get. And clearly what a lot of people were raising questions about. I think that two things that I thought about this morning is one, that one of the immediate heroes is one of the neighbors that videotaped this. I will never forget in 1991, when we had a police beating of Rodney King, a racial police beating. What people always forget, it was a white guy who was just at his house that happened to video it, that woke the whole nation up to what many of us were saying about police brutality.
Right.
Whoever this bystander was that filmed this is the one that saved this country from just going by what Noam had to say, and later President Trump, by videoing this. Because suppose if there was no video, we would believe this woman was some domestic terrorist,
right,
which she was not. This is a 37-year-old woman, mother, white woman at that was there, and from all we can see, there was certainly no terrorism, no justification of what happened here.
And let's not forget, not that it should make that big a difference, but just to put a fine point on it, an American citizen, and they're supposed to be, rounding up, so to speak, the most violent criminals that are here, their words, illegally or undocumented.
Yeah, I mean, and I was listening to a lot of the press conferences yesterday, specifically Tim Walz and his assessment. And this is, for those who have not experienced a ICE or CBP deployment in your town or your community, what they look like is what you're seeing on television. It's not targeted enforcement operations. It's literally a parade of armed federal agents walking down sidewalks, in the middle of streets, in this ridiculous show of force, which is by design, of course. And we're talking about not the deployment of 10, 20, 30. We're talking 50, 100, in some cases, multiple hundreds of heavily armed federal agents walking through peaceful, quiet communities, just simply looking for undocumented immigrants, and using some of the most disgusting profiling tactics that, at least during my tenure in law enforcement, were illegal. Apparently, the Supreme Court has a different opinion on that matter today, but that's what they're doing. They're just wandering around looking for people that don't look like them, that have a different accent, and asking them if they're U.S. citizens. And this is, I've heard a lot of commentary today as well. This was inevitable. I've said it ever since day one. This was inevitable. This is exactly what is going to continue to happen when you have an unaccountable armed agency occupying American streets, that with no oversight whatsoever. There will be no investigation. Don't believe what Kristi Noem says or anyone else. And in fact, I don't even think they've said there's going to be an investigation. I think they said that, the agent's recovering at home with his family. Well, you know who's not recovering at home with their family? The woman that was murdered by this ICE agent. Because she's fucking dead.
You believe it's a murder?
Oh, it is an unjustified murder. Absolutely. There's no justification. This agent put himself in harm's way. I assess from everything that I've heard and what witnesses have said, this woman was there working as an observer. She was observing the activities of ICE agents. I've been a cop for 20 years. I know what was happening in that agent's mind. He was pissed off. He's pissed off that somebody would dare observe him, would dare be there to monitor his activities and challenge his authority. This is essentially what we saw with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, a police officer policing with ego. How dare you challenge my authority? Well, guess what, motherfucker? You work for us. I guess not in this administration, though. In this administration, you work for Donald Trump. And I think that really lends itself to the bigger question. And I watched police chiefs across this country try to, thread the needle when it comes to how they're going to deal with ICE and the fact that they are, at least, in name, another law enforcement agency. Well, now it's time to ante up. Which side are you going to be on? Are you going to protect your citizens against armed, violent thugs? Or are you going to stand idly by and simply ask people to peacefully demonstrate in response to an assassination of an American citizen?
Michael, help us understand why the administration is saying what they're saying, doing what they're doing, and why they are turning the suspect into the victim and the victim into the aggressor.
Well, first of all, they, this administration admits fault never. And I also, Donald Trump has time and time again demonized and vilified anyone that stands stands up against his administration, speaks out against his administration, or even questions the policies of his administration. If this woman, the facts are true that this woman was in fact working as an observer and that she was out there monitoring ICE activities, then, in Donald Trump's mind, she is a terrorist.
She has the right to do that as an American citizen.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think we need to start talking about things in a different understanding. Yes, as an American citizen, you have that right. Under the Trump administration, this fascist authoritarian administration, you do not have that right. You do not have the right to speak out against this administration. You do not have the right to question this administration's policies or authority. You do not have that right. And the only reason that they haven't gotten to everyone is because they haven't gotten a chance to get around to everyone. But this woman lost her life. And until Americans, are appropriately outraged and recognize the fact that no one is going to stop this except for us. The police departments have proved feckless to keep citizens safe from federal agents. Feckless, if not complicit in their activities, like we see in Washington, D.C. The American people are going to have to take to the streets in response to what is happening in our streets at the hands of ICE, CBP, Kristi Noem, and Donald Trump's fascist authoritarian administration. If this doesn't outrage you, fuck you. If this doesn't motivate you to get involved in the things that, people like myself and others have been involved in now for years, fuck you. You're a coward.
Okay, Representative Ilhan Omar, Michael, let's listen.
President Trump went on Truth Social, and he posted about the video, and he posted a different video than the one I think a lot of us have seen. He said, "It's a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. What's your response to that?
Well, that's an incredibly delusional statement. We've all seen the video. We've seen it on multiple angles. You can see no ICE agent falls to the ground. No one is run over. So to rewrite something that is still so visibly available everywhere that people can see, just shows how disturbingly delusional our president has become. But the people have their own eyes. They can make their own judgment. And certainly when this investigation is over, we are going to know really what has taken place. And I hope that that leads to accountability.
I wanted to play that because Ilhan Omar is always typically, at the ire, gains the ire of this administration and these sort of racist white dudes that are in the MAGA movement. But do they think Americans are stupid? Because she brings up a point. We have our own eyes and ears, and we could see what happened. Do they think that because the MAGA folks fall for anything, that the rest of the American people will as well?
I think that making statements like that, statements coming from the President of the United States and Kristi Noem, feeds into, one, the MAGA base. They want to hear that it was a paid agitator. They want to hear terms like domestic terrorist. They don't give two shits. All they know is that this person stood in opposition to ICE. They love what's happening in this country at the hands of ICE and CBP, and so they're all for it. And they'll be celebrating her horrific murder. Then you've got the rest of America, who is indifferent to incidents like this. They might express a degree of outrage while they're watching this on the morning news or reading it in the papers, and then they'll go about their day and forget that it ever happened. And so the idea that she was putting out a statement like that kind of quells their outrage and allows them in their minds to kind of move away from this issue and not have it be the focal point of their day, week, month, year. And so, unfortunately, too many Americans are just too indifferent to what's happening right now, what's happening to their neighbors. And so until the majority of us are willing to stand up, this is going to continue to happen.
I want to play now, and I very rarely agree with anything that Tom Homan says, but I think he has a point here. Here's his interview from CBS.
I think the city of Minneapolis is on edge. I think the country is on edge right now. You say the investigation is ongoing.
Investigation just started.
Just started. You say you can't comment on the video, which many Americans are seeing and reacting to.
I'm not going to make a judgment call on one video when there's 100 videos out there. I wasn't on the scene. I'm not an officer that may have body cam video. It'd be unprofessional to comment on what I think happened in that situation. Let the investigation play out and hold people accountable based on the investigation.
I think many members of the public are calling for the same thing, and so they're confused. Maybe you can help me understand how the Department of Homeland Security could conclude so swiftly that this is a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, that this woman, quote, weaponized her vehicle. By the very same standard you describe, this investigation is just getting started.
That's the question for Homeland Security. I'm the border czar. Well, I can tell you what I've seen on my airplane ride here, looking at numerous videos, seeing numerous social media posts, statements from Homeland Security, statements from Secretary Noem. I'll leave it at that.
But as a law enforcement officer,
what good is it to do right now to me prejudge the facts of what happened today without giving law enforcement professionals, whether it's the FBI or the local police there, give them time to look at all the videos, talk to all the witnesses, talk to the officers, and make an educated decision on what occurred today. That's what needs to happen. I've been a cop since 1984. That is the process we must go through.
Now, he could have said, based on what I have seen, it shows this. And I would have said, based on what I've seen, there's no justification. but it needs to be investigated. But you go ahead. What do you think?
I mean, listen, if you, under normal circumstances in a normal America, devoid of MAGA and people like Tom Homan, those statements coming from any other law enforcement official would be 100% correct. And I would be in total agreement with them. I do not believe that there will be a transparent, valid investigation into this agent's shooting. I don't believe that, quite frankly, I don't believe anything that comes from this administration at all. They have no credibility whatsoever.
I agree. 100%.
Agent after agent, cabinet members, officials have lied time and time and time again under oath in congressional hearing after congressional hearing. This administration has 0.0 credibility with me, and quite frankly, shouldn't have any credibility with any American. Why would you believe the results of an investigation? Again, like whatever that guy's name was, the interviewer said, within an hour of this shooting, Kristi Noem had already characterized this woman as a domestic terrorist. And the president of the United States tweeted that she was a domestic terrorist. No, this is not going to be a valid investigation. Just simply investigate it for yourself. Watch the video.
You're muted, Don.
I'm glad I was muted because I was doing this. I want to play something. I think it's new, or at least somehow enhanced, and I'll get your assessment. Here it is.
A federal agent films the scene on his phone. The driver rolls forward slightly, turning left, then stops and waves for others to go ahead. Two agents exit this silver pickup and walk toward the vehicle. Moments later, shots are fired. Let's look at the scene again more closely. This is the agent who shoots the driver. He walks around the car filming and disappears from view. Other agents pull up and order the driver to exit her vehicle. One of them grabs at the door handle and reaches inside. The SUV reverses, then turns right, apparently attempting to leave. At the same time, the agent filming crosses toward the left of the vehicle and grabs his gun. Mm-hmm. He opens fire on the motorist and continues shooting as she drives past. The moment the agent fires, he is standing here, to the left of the SUV, and the wheels are pointing to the right, away from the agent. This appears to conflict with allegations that the SUV was ramming or about to ram the officer. President Trump and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV, often pointing to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true that at this moment in this grainy, low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV. But when we synchronize it with the first clip, we can see the agent is not being run over. In fact, his feet are positioned away from the SUV. The SUV...
Mike?
There it is.
I'm just saying. When I looked at it, I'm like, I was looking at his feet yesterday and looking at the angle of the car, and I know, like, when you're behind something, it sort of suppresses, right? It compresses what it is, and it's like he's not standing in front of the car. Because if he was standing in front of the car, his behind would end up on the hood. You know what I'm saying? At that rate of speed, but none of that happened. And it was so slippery there, he would have lost his footing. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important component to this. But again, departmental policy, police officers are taught tactics for a reason. And those tactics come into play when it comes into, deadly force and use of force situations. You cannot put yourself in a position to where you can't create the threat yourself and then end it by using deadly force. That's not appropriate tactics. That's not within departmental policy, and that also negates your claim of self-defense and use of deadly force. And that's exactly what this agent did. There were other tactics that could have been utilized. This was not a question of like, oh, it's a split-second decision that I have to make. Like, he's meandering around this fucking car while the other agents are trying to get the door open. Yes, I get it. You know, they're pissed off. Like, she was impeding them or doing whatever it was that she was doing, but she certainly didn't deserve to pay for it with her life. And those agents created the environment which allowed for them to then think that it was appropriate to end her life. And that's what they did. And that's unjustified.
Do you think words similar to what you've just spoken will ever be repeated or said in a courtroom, in a fair hearing?
I mean, not unless they call me as a witness.
You question.
I'm an expert witness. I've been in countless encounters exactly like that one. And you know how many times I fired my weapon? 0. Was I pissed off that the person got away? Yes, I was. Did I really want to get the motherfucker? Yes, I did. But did I know that I was not justified to use my weapon? Yes, I did. And so I didn't. And that's the difference between good police officers and thugs with badges.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.